How a Janitor's Son Changed Washington, D.C. In the heart of America's capital, Washington, D.C., where powerful people make decisions that shape the nation, where polished shoes echo through marble hallways, and where every street seems to whisper ambition, there lived a boy who didn't seem to belong. His name was Malik Carter. He was 16, but his eyes told a story far older. While others his age dreamed about weekend trips or the latest sneakers, Malik was just trying to keep the lights on in a tiny basement apartment he shared with his parents. The place had 2 cracked windows that let in more cold air than sunlight, and the pipes groaned like tired bones every night. His father, Derek, worked as a janitor downtown. Every evening, after the offices emptied and the city lights came on, Derek would pull on his gray work uniform and clean the same hallways where senators and executives had walked hours earlier. Malik's mother, Angela, worked at a 24-hour diner a few blocks from Union Station, the kind that smelled like burnt coffee and tired dreams. She poured coffee with a smile that didn't always reach her eyes, each refill paying for a few more groceries, a bit more rent, a little more hope. They didn't have much, but they had each other. And Malik had something else. A hunger. While other kids complained about homework or curfews, Malik was different. He didn't talk much, but he paid attention. He noticed things, how people carried themselves, how conversations shifted when power entered the room. He had a mind that asked, why, and a heart that refused to give up, even when life told him he should. After school each day, Malik would take a long walk. He'd cross the bridge that overlooked the Capitol dome glowing gold in the evening sun. And he'd head straight to the building where his father worked. Some nights he'd help sweep the floors or empty trash bins. Other nights he'd just sit quietly in the corner, waiting for his dad to finish. But instead of scrolling through his phone or dozing off, Malik did something that surprised even himself. He read. He read everything he could find. Old reports left on desks. Drafts of speeches. Notes scribbled in the margins of policy papers. Books on leadership, law, and history. He didn't read for grades. He read to understand. He wanted to know how the world worked, and how to make it better. One chilly Thursday night, while his father was vacuuming the hallway of a senator's office, Malik wandered inside to dust the desks. On one of them sat a framed photograph, a smiling man in a suit, shaking hands with world leaders. But what caught Malik's attention wasn't the man's position. It was the photo beside it, a small, worn-out picture of a young boy standing in front of a rundown house. Same man. Different life. Malik froze. He whispered to himself, so even he started somewhere small. Then, quietly, almost like a prayer, he said, "One day someone will look at my picture and say, if he made it, maybe I can too." That moment changed everything. From that night on, Malik was unstoppable. He studied harder than ever, not because anyone told him to, but because he had found his why. He joined the debate club, though his voice shook at first. He volunteered at shelters on weekends, helping kids who felt invisible, just like he once did. He started a small tutoring group in his neighborhood, helping younger students with homework in the community center basement. He still came home late some nights, tired from both school and cleaning offices with his dad. But he never complained. While others chased attention, Malik chased purpose. He didn't post his progress online. He just worked, quietly, consistently, faithfully. Then, one spring morning, everything changed again. A thick envelope arrived in the mail, with bold blue letters on the front. Georgetown University. His hands trembled as he opened it. Inside was a letter that would rewrite his future. A full scholarship. His mother screamed. His father cried for the first time in years. And Malik just sat there in silence, trying to believe it was real. The same city that once overlooked him was now welcoming him through its gates. But even then, Malik didn't see it as a finish line. He saw it as the starting point of something bigger. At Georgetown, life wasn't easy. The students around him wore designer clothes and spoke casually about summer trips to Europe. Malik wore the same 2 pairs of jeans he'd owned for years. He worked part-time in the library to cover what his scholarship didn't. But every time he walked past the Capitol building, glowing under the night sky, he reminded himself, this is what you worked for. He studied law. He stayed late in the study halls, long after everyone had left, his eyes burning from the screen's light. He joined student organizations focused on justice, equity, and opportunity. And before long, his voice, once quiet, began to matter. One of his professors noticed his drive and recommended him for an internship on Capitol Hill. It was surreal, walking into those same offices he used to clean, now wearing a badge that said intern. He remembered the smell of the polished floors, the hum of late-night printers, the feeling of being invisible. But this time, people looked at him differently. They asked his opinion. They listened. He learned how policies were made. He watched decisions that affected millions unfold in conference rooms where he once emptied trash bins. And he promised himself that if he ever had a seat at that table, he'd use it to lift others who'd been forgotten. Years passed. Malik graduated, top of his class. His family sat in the front row at his ceremony, clapping through tears. He could have taken a job at a big law firm with a six-figure salary. He could have left D.C. for a fresh start somewhere else. But he didn't. He chose to stay. He became one of the youngest community lawyers in the city. Working for families who couldn't afford legal help, fighting for fair housing, youth education, and better opportunities for low-income neighborhoods. Every case reminded him of where he came from, the basement apartment, the sleepless nights, his mother's coffee-stained apron, his father's tired hands holding a mop. Now, he fought for people like them. Sometimes, late at night, Malik would walk past the same government buildings where he once swept the floors. He'd stop, look up at the tall glass windows, and remember that little boy who used to dream while wiping desks. He'd smile, tuck his hands into his coat pockets, and whisper, "You made it, kid." But even then, he never saw himself as a success story. To him, success wasn't the office, or the title, or the applause. It was the quiet moment when a mother hugged him after he won her eviction case. It was the tears of a teenager he mentored who got into college. It was knowing he turned his pain into purpose. Word about his work spread. Soon, local news stations featured him. Schools invited him to speak. He'd stand in front of students who looked like the boy he used to be, shy, tired, uncertain, and tell them, "You don't have to come from power to make a difference. You just have to believe you matter." One afternoon, after a community event, a young girl walked up to him with a folded piece of paper. It was a picture she'd drawn, a boy holding a broom, standing beside a tall government building. At the bottom she wrote, "If he did it, so can I." Malik smiled, holding back tears. It was the same sentence he'd whispered to himself years ago, in that empty office, staring at another man's photo. Life had come full circle. Sometimes the world overlooks quiet people, the ones who work behind the scenes, who show up even when no one's watching. But those are the ones who often change everything. Malik's story isn't just about rising from nothing. It's about faith, faith in effort, in patience, in purpose. He didn't wait for life to hand him opportunity. He built it, night after night, in silence and sweat. And that's the message he leaves us with. You don't need perfect circumstances to create change. You just need a heart that refuses to quit. Because sometimes, the boy no one noticed becomes the man everyone looks up to.